Hey, think the time is right for a palace revolution. Because where I live, the game to play is compromise solution. Well, then what can a poor boy do except to sing for a rock and roll band? Because in this sleepy London town, there's just no place for a street fighting man. This is the Community Solutions Podcast. Jason Bradley here with you again. As always, Andrew Richter's with me.
Well, now, Jay, we have to do our weekly. I have no idea who the hell sings that. I assume it's British.
Yes. Yeah, you would be right.
I don't know any British people. So,
you don't know any.
No, everything's bloody over there. I don't
Okay.
Well, who's British besides the Beatles?
The Rolling Stones.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, that's Street Fighting Man by the Rolling Stones.
You're kidding.
So, no. So
now, if you'd have said Satisfaction or something, which
right.
came out when my dad got home from Vietnam, and they're still playing it like it's new. I mean, what? How do I not know that if that's the Rolling Stones?
That's a great question. It's not one of their A-list hits, but, it did hit radio. It's been covered by other bands like Motley Crue and stuff like that. But you know what? Every week we go through this where I spit out some lyrics that have to do something with our podcast. I do lots and lots of research. I don't really need to do lots and lots of research. I'm kind of like a human jukebox in some respects.
Well, at least you're modest.
But I do a little bit of research, and I find a song that has to deal somewhat with the topic that we're going to be discussing. Like this week is going to be Complete Streets, so I found Street Fighting Man.
Oh, I was going to say that again because I didn't get the connection there.
Right.
Now I do.
Okay. So what I did for not only your sake, but everybody out there who they're not sure what these songs are, they don't know why I'm saying them. Well, now you know why I say these lyrics at the beginning. We just kind of fell into this. I mean, our first few episodes, I wasn't doing this at all. I don't really know how we got here, but every week this is what I do now. So what I did.
Now I feel like I have to say, have your pet spayed or neutered or something. I've got to come up with something now.
Well, what I did is so that all of you that are wondering about these lyrics that I put out there.
All three of you out there that are wondering that.
Oh, I'm sure there are more than that. I have seen the numbers.
The numbers are good.
But maybe they're all musical geniuses, and maybe there are only three that are wondering that. If you're on Spotify, I set up a Spotify playlist. If you type in my name, Jason Bradley, go to my user profile and click public playlists, there is the Community Solutions Music from the Podcast playlist, where every week I'm going to stick up that song of the week where I do my research, I put the lyrics out there for you guys, and we've got a pretty good list going right now, so you're able to take a look, and there's enough songs that you could stream it now.
Yeah, I could hear all these songs for the first time.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. Maybe I should come up with, quote of the week.
Yeah.
We had the BST the one week. I mean, maybe I should do that. I don't know how to do any of this computer, stuff that you do, but maybe I should come up with, a profound statement every week. Of course, I can't think of any, but...
Well, that's half the battle, isn't it? You got to think of one before you have it.
That's like 90% of it with me, I think, is thinking about it.
But yeah, as long as the song is on Spotify, I will make sure to put it up on that playlist. I mean, we've got everything from Soundgarden's Outshine to Frank Sinatra's My Way to Beatles, I Am the Walrus, Immigrant Song from Led Zeppelin. So
now Spotify, I got no idea what that is, so...
Well, it is a music streaming service, so basically you can put in any song that you want to hear.
Is that like Pandora or something like that?
Except that you get to choose the songs you want to listen to, which is really nice.
So you don't just turn on the 90s channel or something.
Right, exactly. Okay. You can actually go and listen to specific songs. It's kind of like Apple Music, I guess, in that respect, depending on the free or the paid service. But yeah, and there you go. Another service of Community Solutions Minnesota for our loyal listeners. So hopefully you guys enjoy that. I'm going to be adding to that every week. So
I'm already enjoying it.
Oh, good. That quickly. Huh?
As well as the weekly, I don't know what song that is. So it's,
Yeah.
We could, you and I could do the podcast for 50 years, and I bet every week you could find a song that stumps me.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I bet you could. No doubt about it.
I mean, when you bring up songs from like 1934, I mean, that's... we know where you're tracking. It's okay.
I like my Duke Ellington and my Gene Autry.
I do. I like Duke Ellington. I'm a big fan of the big band and the bebop stuff from back then. As jazz kind of went off the rails a little bit with some of your avant-garde stuff.
Unfortunately, the classic jazz is great.
Yeah.
I don't know what year it went off the rails, but it did go off the rails.
It was a little later, once you get into like later Miles Davis and John Coltrane and stuff like that. But yeah, once you're back in the big band era and you've got Benny Goodman and you've got all of that stuff.
Ella Fitzgerald, and you've got the good stuff.
Yeah, it's all good. Okay. Before we get into Complete Streets today, I want to talk a little bit about some local lowdown issues. We're going to have the local lowdown today. That's right, folks, where we talk about what's happening in communities around us so that you can be aware, A, if you didn't know, you can get on it. B, it gives you an idea what might be happening in your community as well. So
the lightning round, whatever you want to call this, that's... It's cool. This is the third or fourth time we've kind of done a little local lowdown. And I think it's cool to kind of shoot from the hip for what's going on in some of these cities. We're not going to get super in depth on this. This is just kind of a did you know?
Yeah.
Kind of like the end of Sports Center or something.
Yeah. And some of the stuff is sent to us by our listeners, so we encourage you to email us at commsolutionsmn@gmail.com if you have issues that you would like us to talk about in a future podcast or on our blog. So, Andrew, where do you want to start? We got 3 of them here.
Yeah, well, let's start with Rochester, the city where nothing's awake after 9:30.
It's like Duluth. I mean, except that's like 8:30. But
yeah, right. Even the streetlights go to sleep at night in Rochester. But Rochester, we did a show. It probably was like, wasn't it around the Minneapolis-St. Paul elections last November, Jay, on ranked choice voting? Wasn't that?
Yeah, something
somewhere
like
in that area? Because after those elections and just the circus that those are.
Yeah.
Well, Rochester, and I don't know why you'd want to follow Minneapolis or St. Paul, is once again considering they are a charter city.
Mm-hmm.
Their charter commission is considering ranked choice voting. Recently, this article from the Rochester Post-Bulletin, which is dated January 9th of 2018, it was a 7-5 vote to stall a charter commission vote on the matter until more information is known. Now, we've talked already. I don't want to go over ranked choice voting.
Yeah.
We've done a whole show on it. You can check our episodes in our archives if you want to listen to that. It is timeless.
Yes.
But yet another city. I mean, we sat here and predicted with 100% accuracy that more cities would start taking this up. And it seems as though, according to their charter, and this is kind of where I'm kind of waffling back and forth here on what I think might happen. This requires a unanimous support of the city council, which they do not have. The mayor has already publicly, Mayor Ardell Brady, has already expressed, quote, my lack of support. So that doesn't look like it's going to be... doesn't look like a unanimous vote's going to happen. Of course, another election could change that.
Right.
And, or push for the voters to decide in November. Now, I wonder what that requires in Rochester. a referendum on the matter. Because
Right.
to collect signatures and do a petition would be
No, they wouldn't
monumental
go that
task
route.
there.
The Charter Commission, I believe, pursuant to Minnesota statutes, the Charter Commission, if the City Council shoots it down, can put it on the ballot as a or as a referendum item.
I wonder what kind of majority they need on the Charter Commission.
Well,
I don't know. We'd have to read Rochester's charter, I guess.
yeah, we would.
But look for this to not go away. I mean, it doesn't say 7 out of 12 are going to vote no. It says 7 out of 12 have voted that they need more info.
Well, that's a good step. I mean, a lot of times when people get things from city staff,
If this came from staff,
right?
we don't know that.
Well, and that's true too. We know that it did come through the Charter Commission, so it could, because it would require a change to the charter. This could have come from a council member to the Charter Commission. It could have come from the Charter Commission itself. Right. Any of that. We did talk about this episode 37, which was November 15th of 2017. So
I was right.
Yes. I do want to say, it's funny how we've always said that these things don't ever go away, whether it's ranked choice voting, whether it's Green Step Cities, whether it is 21 plus smoking, it always comes back around. This isn't the first time that Rochester has taken this issue up. 2013, the Charter Commission decided not to go ahead with ranked choice voting, and it was such a conviction that they're taking it up again 4 years later or 5 years later. It's
they're waiting. I'll tell you what, the proponents of this are waiting for the right city council or the right circumstances to take this to a popular vote.
Yes.
I've said this before. You've said this before. The proponents of things like issues you just mentioned don't care whether it happens incrementally or all at once or whatever. I've coined the term paper cutting us to death.
Yes.
They're fine with that. They have patience, and they know that they can just bring this back and bring this. But now the way to fix that is for Rochester to write in its charter that we are keeping elections the way they are, period. I mean, that's one way to fix this. I'm sure they have something like that there, but, because I know in Crystal they do. They have how they vote is something laid out. And maybe that isn't the case with their charter. I don't know. But, they need like a Bill of Rights. You know what I mean? That's what they need, so that stuff like this can't be overturned in the future. But my guess is if it doesn't go through now, you mentioned 4 years ago, in 2022, we'll be discussing this again.
Right.
That's my guess as to what happens.
Wow.
So that's going on for you people who are awake down in Rochester. I don't know how many of you that is, but let's see. We're not. You can listen to this podcast anytime.
Right.
So maybe it's 9 to 5 right now down in Rochester.
Yep, and
with the one bowling alley that's open after 8:30.
Yeah, and for those of you that are brain dead down there and want to keep bringing this stuff back, I don't think even the Mayo Clinic can fix that. So, all right, let's move on to the next subject. Which city do you want to tackle next?
Well, how about the city that we love more than any other city within like a 1 mile range of it? There is no hope for New Hope.
No.
You and I have done shows, stories, blog posts. On the frigid morning of Friday, January 5th, New Hope City officials gathered together to celebrate the construction of the new police and city hall building.
Ooh.
Isn't that wonderful? Of course, they've been diligently studying the issue over and over. In translation, they're trying to figure out how they could sell it.
Yes.
That's how you translate that statement. You got to love Mayor Kathy Hempkin, boy. I'll just stop there. Quote, this is a $20 million project.
But they're paying for it in cash, right?
No.
Oh, what?
Now, we both know that that's BS, and Mayor Hempkin knows that's BS.
Yeah.
Of course, nobody challenges her. Nobody at the Sun Post challenges her.
Right.
They just
I mean, we
let
covered
her get away with that statement.
We covered, I don't remember how many podcasts ago, that this project was, they were taking out bonds of $25 million, wasn't it?
It's probably $5 to $10 million in interest. Now, that
Yeah.
depends on a couple factors. I guess this is a 15-year bond, which is not as bad as like a 20-year one.
Okay.
The cost will be $189 per home per year in New Hope. That's what you're paying for your on top of all the other taxes that you're paying. They've had a 21% increase to their budget in the last 3 years. They've had a doubling of the franchise fee. Now they're in debt to over $20 million. So that's what you've elected in New Hope. I'm sorry to tell you, you're getting what you're reaping what you sow. So plans have... the ground has broke. Even when it was negative 30, somehow Andy Hoff and the other people there, Hempkin and who I can't remember who I'm forgetting. It doesn't matter. Lamley and the rest of them, somehow their shovels broke ground on January 5th. So that's what you got to look forward to in New Hope. Ain't that wonderful?
That is good. And that does not include the pool, correct?
I believe the pool is a part of that.
Is it part of that? Okay.
However, the pool will be shut down. Remember, they took credit for budget cuts.
Yeah.
But it was because the pool's not operational until 2020. So those come back in 2 years.
Oh,
I'm pretty certain the pool is part of that.
Okay.
Because the police station, City Hall, and the pool are technically on one. They are right now on one plot. This is just being completely redone to meet their needs, even though there's fewer people living in New Hope than there was when the building was built.
Yeah.
But we still have to meet their needs. So I think the police need a new shower and massage parlor and whatever else in their poker room. And
I don't think they have a massage parlor.
Well, they
in
might.
The
Who knows?
station.
See, to see if the Clinton Foundation donated to it. But there might be a massage parlor in there. Who knows? So that's the no hope for New Hope.
Wow. Well, that leaves us with one city left, and another one of our favorites, Brooklyn Park.
Well, Jay, let me put it to you like this.
Okay. I'm ready.
We mentioned in another previous show, no coincidence that we're mentioning previous shows about political parties and so and unions and things like that trying to infiltrate and influence local elections. Know who's funding who. We went through some of our favorite folks.
Yes, we did.
Who were, and where they got their money. Well, nothing. I'm not sure anything's worse than Brooklyn Park right now. I mean, you already have Susan Pa on there, who was financed by the DFL in St. Paul, to the tune of something like $30,000 for a. I probably shouldn't quote something because I'd have to go back and look at her filings with the Campaign Finance Board back in 2016. But she got a tremendous amount of money. Not 1 cent of it was from anybody in Brooklyn Park. They're at it again. The DFL in SD 40 and 36.
Yeah.
In conjunction, I think they're being really funded from Minneapolis and St. Paul, although, I'd have to thoroughly go over that.
Right.
They already have somebody running for mayor. Now, we talk about an early start, Jay. I don't know if Mayor Lundy is running again. I don't think he is.
I don't think so either.
So that may be an open seat. The person who's announced that they're running is Hollis J. Winston III Jr. No, I'm just kidding. Hollis, Hollies. Hollies? How would you pronounce that? Hollies sounds like a plural of women. There's Hollies over there.
No, I think it's probably Hollis.
Yeah. Hollis Winston. who is actually, I don't know if he's the chair or the former chair of the DFL African American Caucus.
Okay.
In fact, I think he's the current chair. And let me tell you some of their objectives. These are the values now this guy would bring to Brooklyn Park.
Okay.
Elect African American and other candidates that support African American interests. Can you explain to me how that is not racist?
Well, I guess it depends. I mean, if those
How come it depends if
those interests are cutting down crime, providing employment, same things that they would be for any other red-blooded human being.
Okay, fine, but that's not limited to one ethnicity.
No, doesn't say it's limited.
Well, I mean, I think it's the grammar's not that well. Elect African American and other candidates. Basically, they're telling you to vote for black people. I mean, that's how I'm hearing that.
Well, it does say other candidates. So people who champion the causes that whatever issues those are. Yeah.
Create institutional power for African Americans. That's number 2. Institutional? Not really sure what that means. Establish an African American community that understands the political process and issues that affect us. They don't understand the issues that affect us. It's kind of talking down to people. Encourage greater African American participation. Okay, fine. No problem with that. I do have a problem with a statement of go out and vote for somebody because of their race, because of their gender, because of their sexual orientation. Mm-hmm. That's taking us backwards.
Isn't it supposed to be the character that matters?
I thought that some of you judged by the character of their
content of their character.
Content of their character, not the color of their skin. Right. I guess we're going back to the 50s here with the African American Caucus. But anyway, he's pretty heavily involved in the DFL, in DFL CD3. So he is a candidate for Brooklyn Park mayor.
Now,
I suppose Reva Chambliss will probably run again. She's the old treasurer of SD40, I believe.
Okay.
She's run several times and lost. But I would expect her, Mr. Winston,
and Susan Faw,
who's there until 2020.
Right.
Their coalition is, I don't know if it's gaining strength or not, because she's really the only elected one.
Right.
But they're well funded. And one side is really taking the fight to get control of that city council.
Now, when you say that it's kind of the same old people that are contributing, do we know if the Minneapolis Area Regional Labor Federation is involved? Because I know they were involved up in the Osseo School District with their elections. I
don't know if they're in. I don't. They're not required to file with the Campaign Finance Board unless they took more than $750 in 2017. Okay. They would not have to file anything until 10 days before the primary.
But I would assume
probably.
Yeah, I would assume they're getting involved in those races. Like they tried to set up that meeting in Crystal with Keith Ellison's offices. Mm-hmm. Like they were involved up in Osseo. Like they were involved up in. The Anoka school district as well, Anoka Hennepin School District. So I think that we're seeing that group start to spend a lot of money to try and get local candidates elected.
And hey, let me tell you something. There's nothing wrong with that. Freedom of speech. I mean, if they want to, I think it's up to these unions too to take control of their activists.
Right.
But if they want their policies somewhere, what they're doing is no different with what I'm proposing we do.
Right.
It's just the thing is the ground. I'm a firm believer that the groundswell needs to start inside of a city, but This is going to keep going. I mean, it's and if this group gets some wins, they're going to go into the next city.
Yeah.
So if you don't want their agenda, boy, you better start doing something about it. So that's, again, those are three local lowdown things. And the reason I really wanted to share those is those are issues that we have done previous podcasts on.
Yep.
And we have talked about how they're being implemented, and here they are. We went over New Hope's crap last year.
Yep.
We went over ranked choice voting. We went over what's happening with the parties and with the unions and things like that. And bang, what do we have? 3 stories on how it's happening.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
it is happening.
Yep. We don't lie here at Community Solutions Minnesota, no matter what you hear from other people that used to be in power and are bitter about it. But, you know, here we are. I mean, like you say, we talk about this stuff. We show you where it's happening out in the community, but we also give you real world ways and solutions to be able to battle it, and other things that you can put in its place that really do enhance liberty and not government control. And those are the things, if you're siding with the big money from the unions and the DFL and all that, I mean, you're looking for government control and regulation and higher taxes and hiding taxes in the form of bond interest, franchise fees, higher user fees, all of the special assessments, all of that.
No question about it. And, you know, we're the ones trying to hold that back, reverse that. And that's a very good way to put it. I mean, but I think, again, this is where union members need to really think about, why is your money being spent on a race that, you know, if you're a union member in Minneapolis, why are they taking your money and spending it in Brooklyn Park?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think you have a right. It's one thing if an individual chooses to do something, because that's the First Amendment.
Yeah.
You know, they have the right to petition government. They have freedom of speech. You want to take your $300 or $500 or $600 and do what you, or less, do what you want with it. Hey, look, I mean, that's a representative republic in action.
Yes.
Not democracy, representative republic. But to me, to have groups taking money and then funneling it somewhere, or you want to donate to something of your own free will, that's different too. So that's just my 3 cents. I don't put in 2 cents.
Yeah,
I put in 3 cents.
well, that's good. You get your money's worth.
You're darn right. You know, I'm struck by. I got to say one thing before we get into it, because you know how big of a wrestling fan I am, or used to be.
Yeah,
I'm always struck by something. Have you ever heard of the Heroes of Wrestling Night?
I don't know if I have.
1999, where Jake the Snake showed up drunk and and he says, "You don't want to play cards with me because I cheat." If you got 21, I got 22. That was the greatest line. Whatever card game that makes sense in. So I don't give my 2 cents. I give 3 cents.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't know if you've seen that a documentary about Jake the Snake that came
I
out
have
recently.
not. I
it's
would love
really
to.
Good. Really good.
To be honest with you, he is his personal problems aside, and the problems with his father, Grizzly Smith. I mean, he is one of the guys, when I look back on, was somebody who always caught my eye, because Jake never talked loud, he never screamed,
right? He
didn't have a great body. So I mean, it was all the gimmick and the psychology of it, and you know, there's other guys, you know, that brought that to me, but Jake Roberts is one of the best. I just wish he'd have cleaned his act up, because he could have been a champion. He could have been a great teacher and writer, an agent in the business, the way guys like Pat Patterson and Gorilla Monsoon and Jay Strongbow and other guys became. But I just he's 65 years old or whatever now. I just hope he's finally cleaned up and I wish him the best.
At the time they cut that documentary, he was doing real well.
Yeah, he's
by
with
the end
DDP
of it.
with his gang.
So yeah.
There's our wrestling talk for the night. Because I could go on and on about that, but we got
I
important
could
business
too.
to get to.
I could too.
Maybe we'll get back to it.
Maybe we'll have to do a wrestling segment someday.
Oh my God!
Of course, it'd be all people that only are more aged. Well, at least up around our age.
It'd be an 80s and 90s kind of show because I mean the first wrestling event of any kind I remember watching was WrestleMania 3. I was 10 years old, and I didn't remember. I mean, I'd heard of Hulk Hogan, I had heard of Andre the Giant, but I had never seen something like that. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again because people who know me know I tried out to be a pro wrestler when I was in my 20s. They are the greatest athletes in the world. There's nobody even close to them.
You've got to be a really good athlete to do what they do and not get hurt.
You've got to be everything, and you've got to play with pain. They're not people who sit out a month with a pulled hamstring or, cut themselves shaving. I mean, it's different now because it's more corporate than it was back then, but they are the greatest athletes. The Olympic athletes couldn't be professional wrestlers. So, I think it's just tremendous what they do, and you got to have a personality. You've got to. There's just so many things you have to be able to do. I have so much respect for them. The sad thing is to watch how many of them become wrestling tragedies.
Yeah,
there's hardly any of them around anymore from the era that we watched, and a lot of the guys from Minneapolis, be it Kurt Hennig, who I knew personally, be it Rick Rude, be it people like that, have all died, and I just don't understand what happened.
Rick Rude from our other favorite city, Robbinsdale.
Yeah, that's right. Kurt was from Robbinsdale too.
Yeah.
If you look at Robbinsdale High School, you had Tom Zink.
Yeah.
You had Barry Darsaw, who was Smash and Demolition.
Yeah.
They all went to high school together. They all ended up being big stars, all from the late 70s. I think 76, is when most of them graduated. So, and second generation, Kurt Hennig's father, the guy with the 25-inch neck, Larry the Axe, he was a great wrestler for a long, long time, too. So, anyhow.
Yeah. Maybe another topic for another day.
We could be wrestling with the topic we're about to discuss, Street Fighters.
Yeah, that's true.
It's possible.
We're going to get into the complete streets argument. Everybody's favorite. We talk about this wherever we go. When we're asked to do a keynote, we bring up complete streets, and it's not uncommon for us to get the question, "What are complete streets?" To the point now where I think we just off the bat will tell you what a complete street is once we mention it, because you know it when you see it. You just haven't put a name to it yet. So maybe this will be all brand new for you, but once we get into it, you're going to understand it, and I think you will have as much disdain for it as we do.
Well, and let me say something before we get into this. I think the disdain that I have is not so much against a complete streets concept.
Right.
It's the top-down approach. It's the attaching money to trying to again, you and I talk a lot about sort of the cookie cutter approach.
Right.
That every city has to have the same, percentage of renters, and every city has to have the same number of parks. Yeah. Every city has to have, water from a certain place, or the same city codes, or the same amount of clotheslines, or the same amount of baseball fields.
Right.
There's no city can have its own character. No city is smart enough to decide for them, even though they live there, what they want and how these groups, these NGOs and these government agencies have come up with these policies, and they're getting pushed everywhere on everybody. And Complete Streets is one of the prime examples of where this has occurred.
Yes, it is. And we've talked about this before, how we see things happen at the local level, and, don't just look to your county. Don't just look to your state. It's more than likely being pushed by some national, international organization. In this case, Smart Growth America is a big proponent. Maybe we'll get into Smart Growth America at some point on one of these podcasts, but they have what's called a National Complete Streets Coalition.
Now, Jade, before we do that, we got to explain what a complete street is.
Yes.
So, do you want to start, or do you want me to start?
Well, I guess
I nominate you to start. Do you accept my nomination?
Yes. Yes. Basically,
by the way, we should put some pictures up when we posting this of what they look like.
Yeah, we can do that.
Good example. I'm sure they're there on Community Solutions on our.
We've done blog entries.
Yeah, we've done that before, but you'll kind of know what we're talking about. But when you see it, it'll really da-ding. Trust me, you'll have driven on one. You will have, I promise
recently.
You. Yeah,
no doubt. In fact, as part of our Instagram account, that's Instagram.com, Instagram.com/COMM Solutionsmn.
Plug.
Yep. I have made it my mission, to put out there pictures I see out and about of complete streets, of roundabouts, of mixed-use development. So make sure that you check those out, because I do have photos up there, and we'll just have to go find some more of those, I think, in the near future. Yeah. Anyways, a complete street, for those of you that don't know what it is yet, it's basically a planned approach to a street that it can accommodate all forms of transportation. Now, that is motor vehicles, that is public transportation, that is bicycling, that is walking.
What if I want a somersault down the street? Do I have a lane for that?
Well, I guess you could do it on a sidewalk.
Kind of hurt, though.
Yeah.
Hey, I could bike on a sidewalk, too.
They don't have anything for rowboats planned at this time. No fjords or whatever you call those things.
No walking on stilts.
Yeah.
Okay, walk over the...
Yeah. Nothing like that. But so it's basically so that all users, no matter what, are able to use the streets. That's planning for people that have disabilities. It's planning for people that are of full ability. So it's just as it sounds. It's a complete street because anybody can use it.
Now, it may be surprising to know that the first complete streets-like policy was adopted by Oregon in 1971. Like policy. Basically required that new or rebuilt roads. Now, I don't know if this was just local state funding. Well, I mean, I don't really know. It doesn't really say here. Had to accommodate bicycles and pedestrians. And it called on state and local governments to fund blah, 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 blah. The pedestrian, bicycle, blah, blah. 16 states have adopted a complete streets policy. Guess which one is one of them?
Minnesota,
the great state Jesse Ventura called Minnesota. In 2010, signed by your favorite governor, Tim Pawlenty.
Yeah.
Complete streets, the term.
Wait a second. I thought Minnesota was red when we had a governor that was Republican.
Yeah, well, that's because we read a book. No, I don't know. I mean, it was... I don't know. We became a complete street state in 2010. So nice conservative policy.
Yes.
The term complete streets was suggested by a man named David Goldberg, the communications director for Smart Growth America, which, of course, is a wonderful thing.
Yes.
Well, you talked about the National Complete Streets Coalition, which was founded in 2005. Now, listen to, again, you and I talk about who's behind this stuff.
Yeah.
Now, listen to this. The AARP, which I get mail from. Why do I get mail from them?
Because you're old.
Well, I know I'm old, but I ain't that old.
I don't get mail from them.
Well, I do. the American Planning Association, the American Society of Landscaping Architects, American Public Transportation Association, Blue Cross Blue Shield Minnesota, National Association of Realtors, Institution of Transportation Engineers are all people backing Complete Streets.
There's some interesting groups in there. Now, a landscaping association, that is because every time they create a complete street, they have to figure out how they're going to landscape it, whether that's with rocks, whether that's with trees or shrubs. It's total self-interest.
Yeah, of course it is.
That just makes me sick.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter if the complete street is good. It's, hey, we get work out of the deal.
That's right.
Fantastic.
They plant corn. They plant soybeans. They do anything. Those roundabouts where what the heck do they have growing in some of them?
I think it's a corn, and they put a corn maze in the fall.
I'm waiting for like the Wizard of Oz, the trees that throw their own apples at you. That's what I'm throwing at the cars that go by. That's what I'm waiking for.
Well, that'll keep them out.
By the way,
yes.
Here's another example of a circumventing not through legislation. A federal law to propose complete streets was proposed and debated in 2008 and 2009. However, it failed to pass Congress.
Well, who doesn't want your federal government telling you what your street should be like in your city?
Right. Now, keep in mind, because that failed, two things were consequences. One, the advocates of complete streets went to states and local governments after that.
Like they always do.
Okay, we can't get it through Congress or the president or whatever. In 08, Bush was the president, and Obama was in 09. I don't think it got that far.
No, probably not.
But they didn't get it there, so what did they start doing? They went to cities, counties, and so on and so forth. And the Department of Transportation issued a policy statement on bicycle and pedestrian accommodation, declaring its support for their inclusion of that in federal aid transportation projects. Translation:
free money.
Well, more importantly, it didn't become law, but we're going to make it law anyway.
Right. We're going to legislate, or we're going to put regulation behind it when there's no law to back it.
Right, and that's not the job of the Transportation Department. Their job is not to make law.
No, it's
and that's
not.
largely what they've done. We have 490 jurisdictions now that have a complete streets policy.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a lot.
And some of those are states. A lot of them are counties. Some of them are cities. A lot of them are cities as well.
And keep in mind, if your city isn't a part of this and your county is, your county roads, Crystal's a great example.
Yeah.
Your county roads can be changed within a city that is not wild about it. Once that change is made, folks, it's not easy to reverse.
No, I mean, it's expensive. You got to rip
do?
up the road and redo it.
Right, or at least restripe it and paint it and all that, which is not cheap. And if it's a county road, how's the city going to make the county do something?
Exactly. They're not going to allow them to be bullied into something like that. So what does that look like? I mean, as we're talking through what a complete street is, it's often where you used to have 4 lanes of traffic, but now you have 2 lanes of traffic, and you have one center lane for turning, and you have often bike lanes on one or either side. You have sidewalks on one or either side. If you're in more of a downtown or commercial district, they want to make those sidewalks even bigger so that it can accommodate more activity.
Whether more activity, like a guy selling hot dogs?
Like a guy selling hot dogs, like if a restaurant wants to put tables outside, like if, that it's more of a gathering place for
Jay,
people.
Isn't this really part of the whole modus operandi of compacting everybody? This is all about. This is not about accommodating people who are handicapped or something like that. One sidewalk can accommodate people who are handicapped. They don't walk that much, no offense. Okay? Every place doesn't need a bike lane.
No.
Especially in a state like Minnesota. This is really about getting people out of their cars. It's about higher density. It's all part of that puzzle.
Yeah.
That if you want the mixed use, if you want the higher density, if you want to get people out of their cars into public transit or into doing something other than driving, you've got to lay out how you're going to do that. And a complete street is one of the components to doing so.
Absolutely. And if you don't believe me, it says right on smartgrowthamerica.org under their Complete Streets, National Complete Streets Coalition page, that complete streets are for everyone. They are designed and operated to enable safe access for all users, including pedestrians, bicyclists, motorists, and transit riders of all ages and abilities. Complete streets make it easy to cross the street, like it was difficult before, walk to shops, and bicycle to work. They allow buses to run on time and make it safe for people to walk to and from train stations.
Let me ask you a question. One of the things,
Okay.
In fact, I'm just going to back up because you just said a lot right there. So I'm just going to take it in another direction.
Okay.
We've also gotten other terms from Complete Streets.
Mm-hmm.
Traffic calming measures
Yes.
is another one.
That just means it's harder to drive.
Yeah, it's lower speeds.
Yep.
Because, of course, you're
Yep.
encouraging bikers and walkers out on the street. So
Right.
people have to drive slower and look out. Now, again, I'm not saying that people should be driving 100 miles an hour no matter what. I'm not saying that.
Right.
I'm saying you are forcing traffic to slow down.
Right. More traffic, which in turn makes people slow down.
Yes, and have more road rage. Also, the term road diet.
Yes.
Those roads are eating too much pizza.
That's when you're going down from 4 lanes to 2.
Well, that's one example,
Yeah.
but it's basically cutting down ways to
It's cutting down the accessibility of motor vehicles
that's what
to the roads.
Right. I
Yes.
mean, you're basically
They use roundabouts as a method to
that's a traffic calming measure
yeah.
too.
Sometimes speed bumps or
Road rechannelization is one of the new terms that Smart Growth is using.
Wow.
Apparently, road diet, lane reduction is not. That they probably brought that through the think tanks and focus groups,
Yeah.
and found that was not too popular. So that's what they've cut it to. They're also, one of the things too is they're interpreting the Americans with Disabilities Act to kind of justify these extreme measures.
Yeah.
Even though a sidewalk, without question, certainly fits within that accessibility, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know how bike lanes do anything for people with disabilities. That's just me, but
Yeah. Well, I think it's funny on the page here for the National Complete Street Coalition. I mean, let me just explain this to everybody. You can feel free to look along over on Smart Growth America's website, but basically it's a shot from a crosswalk, and in the distance you can see some cars. You also see a city bus, and crossing in the crosswalk, you see some people walking. You see a guy on crutches, or maybe a lady on crutches. That might be a lady. I can't. Yeah. A kid on a bicycle, a kid on a scooter that I don't think they have parents with them. Maybe the lady on the crutches is the parent. So it's surrounded by high density housing, and there are more lanes there than you can shake a fist at for people behaving badly. It does get crazy, It's like that picture wasn't staged, for one. That's the thing you have to remember. They'll tell you all these great things and they'll show you all these photos, but it's all staged. It's all to try and prove a point, to get their idea sold.
It is as biased as it can possibly be. And they also will put like crash data, accidents data.
Yep.
As we went through with roundabouts, though.
Yeah.
that data is misleading because so many small fender benders don't get reported.
Right.
So whether there's there's differences based on climate and things like that are not the same everywhere. Mm-hmm. You put in a roundabout in Arizona and a roundabout in Minneapolis, and you're going to get two completely different results.
Absolutely.
And so and again, let me because again, more what I'm opposed to is the forcing of this everywhere or doing something like that.
Yeah.
There are places, I haven't found too many, but there are places where maybe a policy like this makes sense.
Yeah,
there are places,
sure.
There certainly are places that have lots of walkers and bikers. They exist in a lot of different places. I mean, maybe not so much here, but there are places in California, in Florida, in places where you can do that year-round. Mm-hmm. And maybe people don't need a car. New York can be a place where, with the subways and all that, I don't think a complete street makes much sense. But there are, Boston is always held out as some sort of example.
Yeah.
But there are as long as the local people and the local citizens are deciding this. Okay, this is something we want. This is something we want to pay for. I wouldn't do it. But that's a lot different than being forced to by your county or your state or having money hanging from you attached with do what we want or we're not giving you anything. I also think that when we get down to manipulating people's behavior, we do this with the tax code and we do this, there's so many ways government tries to get you to do something. And they kind of do it in sort of a, no pun intended, roundabout way. It's we're going to put so many bike lanes around your house that you're just going to go out and buy a bike because you can't drive anywhere.
Yeah.
And the proponents of this are such hypocrites. They want public transportation financed by gas taxes, but they don't want anybody driving.
Right.
Isn't that kind of a problem?
That's a huge problem.
Go buy a more fuel-efficient car. Well, guess what? You get less gas tax if I do that.
Yeah.
So go get an electric car. Okay, well, then you get no gas tax at all. So which is it?
Oh, yeah. Which is it? That's a great question, and they want their cake and they want to eat it too. I mean, they want to put this out there.
The BST, that's to solve it. And the WST, the walking sales tax. Yeah. You want to walk all the time? Why do I have to build your sidewalk?
Yeah. Well, and like you say,
you'll have a toll sidewalk.
There are some places where it might make sense to have something like this, but
there are places in front of say schools or hospitals or something where why wouldn't you want a sidewalk?
Right.
Or something in front of places like
a commerce district where there's lots of restaurants and stuff. Yeah,
malls or whatever.
Understandable. And that's not to say everyone needs to be like that. Again, you're getting into dictating how that certain area should be, But again, out on our Instagram account, I took a picture. I was up in Alexandria driving on Birch Avenue. And it's way out in the middle of nowhere. I'm going to show you. Does this look like a really bustling metropolitan area?
Absolutely, it does.
It's grass and it's trees, and it used to be 4 lanes, and now it is 2 lanes with a bike lane, and then on each side and a shoulder on the other side of that for walking. I mean that's out in Representative Mary Fransen's district, and she actually responded on that and says that she knows that stretch of road very well.
I know Mary a little bit, not a whole lot. She is as conservative as you get.
Yeah.
She is very conservative.
And she says that the speed limit on that road is 30, but it feels like you want to drive 40. Yeah. So again, traffic calming. Right.
So it's Dayton Road up in Champlin. I tell you what, let's go to something like MnDOT. Okay.
Oh, good.
Here is MnDOT's complete streets policy. Now, keep in mind, since this is a law in Minnesota, I'm not sure MnDOT came up with us. I'm just
Right.
saying, I'm not blaming MnDOT.
Probably trickle down
It
from
probably
legislature.
is.
Yeah.
We incorporate a complete streets. This is MnDOT.
Yeah.
I mean, they're supposed to work on our highways
Yeah.
as part of doing every project we deliver. They do confess that complete streets in a rural setting may look different from complete streets on a main street running through a small community, which may look different than complete streets in the Minneapolis-St. Paul metropolitan area. They claim there is no one prescription. Well, that's funny because there seems like there is.
You just saw the picture of Birch Avenue. It looks a whole lot like a lot of other complete streets you've seen, it doesn't it?
You think? They take into account community context, whatever that means, road function, traffic speed, freight volumes, pedestrian and bicyclist demand, which they don't. It's if you build it, they will come.
Topography.
Yeah, topography.
What do we have mountains in Minnesota, or I don't understand that.
They
how
must.
How would that limit or the kind of complete street that you construct? I can't. I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe the only cities I can think of would be a city like Duluth or something like that. where
You might
there's-
not want to have a bicycle lane going up Lake Avenue in Duluth.
That would be interesting.
Yes,
To see that. There is a group called Complete Streets Minnesota.
of course
they
there
do
is.
exist.
Yes.
Streets MN. But they have, I'm trying to find their list.
Oh, yeah. There's actually two groups. There's the Minnesota Complete Streets Coalition. Which is mncompletestreets.org. And then there's Streets MN. I need to find that one.
Hold on here while we
Yeah.
get this info, because I was trying to see
Yeah,
who
streets.mn.
had the list of cities, and I thought I saw it earlier today, of cities that had a complete streets policy, because the first thing that they do, that these groups want you to do, is get together and make a blanket statement. The city council will pass a resolution, or I don't think they make it into a city code, but you can see there's on mncompletestreets.org, if you look at a page titled The Coalition, you will see all the extra outside groups that are pushing for these changes. One of the changes, one of the things they say, 40% of Minnesotans do not drive. Are you kidding
What?
me?
I suppose if you take into account people
Children.
that are like 0 to 15, and then people who have
We're
had their
in nursing homes
Yeah.
or have dementia.
maybe immigrants who have come here and not taken a driver's license test yet.
Well,
maybe
half of them still drive anyway. I cannot buy that. But apparently they take that into account. Too many roads do not provide safe access for children, seniors, and people with disabilities. Well, children shouldn't be on certain roads.
That's true.
What you think? I remember when I was a kid, grew up in Crystal.
Yeah.
My mom rode a zone around
Yeah.
our house. I was not to cross Bass Lake Road.
Yeah.
I was not to cross 62nd, up by Lions Park.
Mm-hmm.
I was not to cross 81. I had a little zone there from,
Yeah.
the area I'm talking about, where I could not go. When I was a teenager, I did.
Yeah.
But
And I was the same way. I lived on a dirt road that was about a mile long. I lived on a dirt road that was about a mile long. My mom said, "Don't go over to the paved road. You can go down as far as this mailbox, and you can take the trails that go over to the Proctor Speedway."
Huh.
When I was young.
By the way, the coalition state and local policy under mncompletestreets.org has all of the areas that have actually passed a resolution. And some of them, again, Big Lake is one of them. New Hope is another. Red Wing.
Wow.
Pipestone. Egan, Falcon Heights. Otter Tail and Clay County.
The city of Rochester shows up again.
Of course. Fergus Falls. Hennepin County. Independence. Albert Lee. These are not bastions all necessarily of left-wing loons. These are, they have a local government toolkit. And that is, basically a sales pitch for Complete Streets. They have an advocates toolkit where you can actually, some of these links are broken, but what a shock! Like the Botno Boulevard Partnership.
Oh boy!
But basically, they're advocates of how to go get this passed in your city.
So was that on mncompletestreets.org
yes,
or was that okay? Not streets.mn. Yeah. But yeah, there's both of these groups, and then you've got groups like Transit for Livable Communities,
bicycle coalitions, things like that. I know a lot of doctors and medical because they're livable, what do you call it? Active living groups or whatever you call that are pushing for this too. They want you to get that heart rate up by walking 20 miles to work every day.
Right.
and it just I've said this before, but this is so impractical. People do not. Okay? This is the same problem we have with public transit. It takes everybody downtown.
Yeah.
Which might have worked in the 50s. Okay? But everybody doesn't live in a first or second ring suburb and work downtown. So many people work suburb to suburb today.
A lot of people telecommute.
Absolutely.
Well, I guess that doesn't matter. Meeting. They wouldn't. Yeah. but working suburb to suburb, it's...
You live in Osseo and work for Cargill, you're not taking light rail to work. If you work at Target up in Brooklyn Park and live in Elk River, you're not taking public transit.
You live in Eden Prairie and you work over at General Mills?
Yeah.
No.
Right, but 50 years ago, all those places would have been downtown.
Right.
Now, it isn't like that anymore. Yet we still have that mentality. Same thing with Complete Streets. Some people drive 20 miles to work. They can't walk or bike.
Yeah.
Okay? We have this thing in Minnesota. It's going on right now. It's called winter.
Yeah, okay? the past few weeks, may I remind you, it has not crept above zero many times.
You cannot walk a mile to the grocery store and walk on your extra wide sidewalk to go home with the bags full of groceries. It's impossible.
Right. That's why you need to hire a rickshaw.
No, you need to call up Coburn's and have them deliver or something. I don't know. And even that's a big truck, takes up space. I mean, this is so impractical. And I'm just... Here's another claim they make. I know we're jumping around a little bit. They claim 500 bikers are being killed every year in Minnesota.
Is on their really bikes true? Or like in various manners, like attacked by a bear?
Yeah. They started West Side
in a car
Story.
Accident.
Well, but I mean, I think the assumption being made is that it's the car's fault. I mean, that's always something that I glean from that.
Right.
That it's somehow... I mean, I go down and drive in Minneapolis. Bikers are not the most... First off, they tick me off a lot. They fly through stop signs. They fly through red lights. I've seen them cut in front of cars, ride in between lanes of traffic.
I saw a guy have to lay his bike down and slide on the pavement to avoid getting hit down there because he ran a red light.
They're nuts down there.
Yeah.
So, I mean... I don't know. I just think that the bikers need a little safety class as well.
I've almost been hit as a pedestrian by a biker trying to cross the street.
I've almost been hit one, too, when I was at Medicine Lake.
Yeah, it's crazy.
They just whiz by you and 100 miles an hour and,
But let me suggest this. I mean, we're making all of these main thoroughfares into complete streets. What if? I mean, I know downtown it's a little trickier. I know that there are some passages where, you think about like going through even like a place like downtown Crystal where there's really Bass Lake Road. Otherwise, you got to cut through the park, which is one option. They could cut through the park to wherever they're going. What if the bikes were a block or two off the main thoroughfare where you have that option?
Well, what prevents anybody from biking on those roads right now?
Exactly. Like taking Minneapolis. They have made a complete street out of 28th that goes down to the hospitals and all that, down through South Minneapolis. Mm-hmm. What if they didn't have the bikes on 28th, which is the main thoroughfare, but they stuck them over on 27th or 29th on the other side, and then it's kind of squarely in between there and Lake Street, which
gets the bikes away from the cars and gets
it's just a thought.
Putting bikes, walkers, wheelchairs, stilts, somersaults, and cars all on the same road, to me, is a recipe for could be way worse rather than better.
Right.
So I don't know. I'm baffled at the planning here. I just think, how conspiratorial I am. Well, this isn't a conspiracy because it's happening out in the open. A conspiracy, the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. Here, it's basically, the title of this should be "Push Your Car Off a Cliff and Don't Ever Drive Again." That really should be what this group's name is.
Yeah.
And the fact that, MnDOT, they don't build city streets, so they shouldn't have a policy, shouldn't have a say. It could have been a directive that came down from somebody else, but it is just, I don't know. It's very, very problematic.
It is, and looking at groups like Streets.mn, they get involved in. There's a little deal on their blog here where it talks about they go to college they go to Macalester College to teach students lessons about driving because the people that live around the college are upset by not being able to park in front of their house when school's in session. You bought a house right next to a college, or maybe you're renting a house right next to a college. Students are going to come to the college when it's in session. And maybe it's because we don't have enough parking available at those schools either.
Probably.
And it's
probably
because
on a parking diet.
You guys are trying to restrict parking as well, And you look through their list of events, it's like housing justice, protection, production, and supply. Mapping prejudice. Make history that matters.
Mapping prejudice?
Yes. Sold out. Affordable housing at risk.
What the hell? What is going on in education? What is going on?
Well, this is Streets.mn. These are their events.
Oh, even worse.
So, yeah.
Mapping prejudice.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, is there anything that's not racist today? Minneapolis has a group, I don't know what they're called, but they're advocating that the parks are racist in Minneapolis.
Right.
They're not good enough in the black neighborhoods versus the white neighborhoods, and that's racist based in the city of Minneapolis. A city where, again, one party control. If the parks are racist, we know who made them.
Yeah.
And who cares for them and all that. So
tell you, there hasn't been a conservative elected to Minneapolis since when?
I don't know. How far back are we going here? When was I born? I don't know if I can think of one.
Sorry to tell you.
So, and now we've got Lake Calhoun being renamed to Lake Socotola or whatever. It's just the things they do there. I'm just... I'm not going to get into the lake naming because John Calhoun was so much bigger than that. I just it drives me up a creek. Taking people who lived 200 years ago and trying to project them into today just angers me to no end. That I can't talk about it.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to the whole thing about complete streets. Here's the bottom line. Okay. If you don't have a complete street, Somebody there is planning it.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody at your county office is thinking about it. Your engineer, and maybe not so much your engineer, but your planning people have attended a conference with it. They know grant applications are tied to it.
Yeah.
Bottom line is this. Think about our local lowdown earlier. Coming to a city near you.
Yes.
If it ain't there, AINT ain't, then believe me, that ain't stopping anybody. So the whole point of what we're talking about here is your city may have complete streets without a complete streets policy. That's very possible.
Yeah, absolutely. It can
Crystal's
come
the
from
prime example.
Yeah, it can come from the county.
Right. Or it can come from MnDOT.
Yeah.
Or it can, they could just do it without declaring that that's what they're going to do.
Yeah.
So, again, coming to a city near you. And maybe, Jay, maybe we've got to come up with a local toolkit to stop a community or a complete street policy. Maybe we got to take a page out of their book.
Maybe that's going to come.
Yeah, so I mean, hey, copying I know is the greatest form of flattery, but also can be effective.
Everybody's got a toolkit nowadays.
Toolkit and a legislative scorecard. Find me a group that doesn't have that.
Oh, goodness.
So again, complete streets, you know what they look like? They're the two lanes with the center lane in the middle, or trees, or sunflowers, or rhubarb, or whatever they grow in the middle with the bike lanes and the more lanes for walking and biking than driving. Now think about how little sense that makes. Now, you know my Grand Rapids story.
I do.
Of driving up to Grand Rapids, which is about 3.5 hours north of here, where I've always contended they have a longer snowmobile season than biking season, yet they have complete streets up in Grand Rapids, Minnesota. You drive up on 38, like you go into Marcel, and there wasn't there 20 years ago. It is there now, a complete street.
Yep.
Insanity.
I have seen it. If that's not bad enough, I mean, your story about Orr, Minnesota.
Yeah, car-free living. It was unbelievable. I stopped to flush my coolant, and there I turn and look on City Hall, which was, a barn with doors with the windows knocked out. Yeah. But still, when I saw the rented sofa with the spring sticking out of it, and still promote car-free living in a
Good luck getting your boat to the lake.
Yeah. You're supposed to walk it or bike it, okay, on your bike lane to get it there.
Wow.
So I don't know how you get it out of the water when you do that. But
I've never tried biking underwater. I don't know how that works.
I'm never going to try. You'll have to let me know.
I'm not going to try it either. Oh, my goodness.
So, folks, complete streets coming to, and another reason for the WST and the BST, because the gas tax can't finance all this, folks.
No.
So you walkers and bikers are out there creating jobs. Remember, they create jobs, Jay.
Yeah.
Remember that was when I asked you what 1,000 times or 100 times 11 was?
Yeah.
So we've got to have we got to make these people have some skin in the game.
Absolutely.
So not only are we going to have the BST, the bicycle sales tax, we're going to have the walking sales tax. We're going to have a walking toll road.
Toll sidewalks.
That's right. You can get your your walk pass, like your min pass.
Sounds good, small business, doesn't it?
Yeah, no kidding. Absolutely.
You want those bigger sidewalks out in front of there? Maybe either you could kick in for them, or we could have not a sales tax, but it would be a walking toll.
Fee. It's a user fee. If I got to pay money to park my car, why shouldn't walkers and bikers have to kick in?
I like it.
They're getting these roads built, but they're not paying the taxes.
In fact, you take the light rail up the Bottineau line, you get off at Bass Lake Road, and the first thing you do is throw money in a change bucket so you can walk down the sidewalk. How does that sound?
I love that. And I'll be the only one with the key. That'll be the big thing. I'll be the only one with the key.
Yeah. You want that responsibility?
My walking retirement. No, no, I really don't. But.
But this is this is insane. This is the insanity that they are pushing upon us every day because they want you to get out of your car, because they want to collect more taxes, but at the same time limit that they can't reconcile the difference between all of their policies. And that's what it comes down to. You have the social agenda on one side and the government control on the other side. And sometimes they have a really hard time reconciling that. So they raise the taxes because they're taking taxes off the table from creating all this other stuff. And it unproportionately goes upon the people that are just minding their own business. They're driving, they're owning businesses, whatever they do, They're
just insane. Let's just leave it at that.
Okay. Done.
Yeah, but, again, one last thought. Coming to a city near you. That's my quote of the day.
Okay.
Complete Streets. Coming to a city near you.
Even better. It's coming to your city. Forget near you. It's coming to your city.
You going to take my quote and make it better?
I am. That's what I do. No, I'm just kidding. All
right, I'll give you some credit. If you can have some of my residuals.
You don't have to have this come true in your city, though. You have a voice. You have ability to get on a planning commission, to get on a charter commission, to get on an environmental quality commission, to get on a parks commission, and to have say in advising your city council, your county board on exactly what is deep down in your heart, those values that you hold to be important. All you got to do is go down to City Hall, go down to where your county board meets, fill out an application, wait till they call you, go do an interview, and chances are pretty good that unless they have more applicants than they do spaces or whatever, you're going to get on. It's 3 hours a month in most cases. Sometimes it's less than that. It's not such a big price to pay for freedom, to be able to have a voice to help make an effort to hold this stuff at bay. It's the next best thing to being elected to an office where you actually get a vote on making policy.
I would second that. We encourage that every week. We encourage you to contact us with your stories. We want to thank people who've done that already. Jay, where do they reach us?
At COMMsolutionsMN@gmail.com. That's COMMsolutionsMN@gmail.com.
Check out our blog and podcast at Jay.
COMMsolutions.com.
We're on Podbabble and all that
stuff.
Yeah.
You can check this out.
I checked us out.
You did.
Yes.
We had a conversation about that. You looked up the podcast
is cool.
on your iPhone. It's in the iTunes store. Yeah. It's in the
this thing is neat.
Yeah, it's in the Google Play Store. It's on Spotify. It's on Podbabble.com. Who has been so gracious as to put us on there as one of their featured podcasts. Also, as I mentioned at the beginning, you want to know more about the lyrics that I put at the beginning?
If you're me, want to learn anything.
Right. Search out on Spotify, Jason Bradley, my user account number, or my user ID. You'll see me, a little picture of me with my guitar there, so you'll know it's me. And then go to public playlists, and it's the Community Solutions music from the podcast playlist. So all of this good stuff is going on. We're doing keynotes. We're training people. We're things are blowing up, and it's 2018. Like it or not, it may only be January 18th of 2018.
When we're recording this, anyway.
Right. When we're recording this. But believe it or not, before you know it, we're going to be in the thick of things in the summer. So it's time to get our act together now so that we are prepared and put together a game plan to be able to go and win as many seats as possible at the city level, at the county level, at the school level. Because I tell you what, if we wait and we focus only on the governor race, only on the U.S. Senate races, only on the state house races, we're going to be big losers at home because the special interests are going to continue going to our city councils and our county boards and getting things passed that we don't want.
It's a failed strategy. It's been a failed strategy for 50 years, and it's continuing to be.
Yeah.
But, Jay, remember, and I'll leave everybody with this.
Yeah.
We are community solutions. I always say that.
Yeah.
We have solutions to that. So if you're waiting around for somebody else to do something, that somebody is us. You understand what I'm saying?
To a point. You don't know where to start. We're the best place to start because nobody else in Minnesota does what we do.
Right.
For local politics.
And I guess that's more what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That if you're somewhere and you want to change something at City Hall and you don't know how to go about it, we are the top resource for that. And look, I say that with we've earned that as far as I'm concerned. I'm not unabashed in saying it.
Right.
That the people you need on speed dial are you and I.
Right.
So
agreed.
I have no problem saying that to anybody. That and that's what we want to be. That's why we put all this time in. We're not doing it to, well, I'm doing it to hear myself talk, but Jason isn't. I mean, come on. Here's the thing. Like you said, everybody has a little bit to do. And for you, that may not be a candidate. It may be working on a campaign. It may be serving on a commission. That's all you do. It may be just being an activist. It may be writing letters to the editor. It might be as a blogger. It might be as a rabble rouser. Find what you want to do. Enhance that. Do the best out of that you can. If we have thousands of people in Minnesota do that, we are going to change things big time.
And I would take it a step further.
You always do when I say something.
Well, we play off each other well, and this is why. So if what you want to do is just sit and complain on Facebook, sit and attend meetings and complain, but don't do anything afterwards, put up little memes on Twitter or whatever, that does not accomplish anything. You are not swaying anybody. You're not informing anybody. You're just blowing off steam, and it accomplishes nothing. You really need to put your feet to the pavement and do something of value, which is exactly what we teach. And you are capable of it. Yes, I'm talking to you listening to this podcast, have a specific set of skills and abilities that other people around you don't have, and they're waiting for you to put your skin in the game and work to the best of your ability. That's what we're about as conservatives, right? We work. We get things accomplished because we put our brain to work and we let our feet and our hands follow. So please, don't stop with complaining on the internet. Don't stop with yelling at Fox News or CNN or MSNBC or whatever you like yelling at.
Yeah, nobody watches that.
Nobody watches it except for yelling at it, I'm sure. But let me tell you, that accomplishes nothing. We need to get involved, and we all can do it.
And Jay, as always, when you say something, I have nothing to add after that.
Wow, I'm that good, huh? Well, with that then, the only other thing that I have to say is that we love you, Minnesota. Now it's your turn to get to work.
I get too caught